Hope you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, yesterday, we covered, yesterday I have covered, those uh, defensive programming, like, what kind of techniques that we need to use it, okay, to stop most of the cyber attacks. Okay, so we discussed around, 3 or 4 issues. Okay, so let us go, for the next step, like with the, yeah, let us go with, the next step, MVC. Okay, uh, today we are going to discuss about MVC. So most of you are also already aware of this, might be, because this is a very big buzzword, okay, that we hear when you enter into the computer side, programming, right? Everywhere actually, whenever we see something related to development, okay, UI and backend development, most of the people like, talk about MVC. What is this MVC? Let us see actually what exactly this is. Okay, so previously, before MVC, okay, there is no like, what can we? mm, Okay, previously when we don't have MVC, okay, there is nothing like, kind of a methodology. We don't have it. People used to develop the applications, without proper, without proper barriers. I can say, like, this code should be right in this area and this code should be right in this particular part. And, we don't have that kind of, that kind of barriers. Okay, so every, people who can write, the code of view on the same page, and they can connect to the database on the same page, and they usually, like, to display and all, and they write all the business logic also in the view only. Okay, so because of this, what happens, right, it becomes a very tightly coupled application. Okay, so for each and every small changes also, we usually, remove. Sorry guys, my voice is like, little down. Okay, so if you feel, if you're not comfortable, please let me know. I'll stop it, and then, we can still continue in the next class. Okay, if you are okay, you are able to hear me properly, yeah, please let me know. Okay. Okay, so in that case, actually, we are developing a lot of, you know tightly coupled applications. Okay, so then we had this methodology, MVC. MVC means Model View Controller. Okay, so this is, when you check on the controller model and, view. So view is the thing that we can see on the screen of the clients. Okay, and the controller is the main player. Okay, who are performing so much of task, and controller is responsible to connect with the model, and also controller is responsible to connect with the view. Okay, so the flow of entire this project is going to be controlled by the controller. Okay, and the model. Okay, so it's a plain Java class. Actually, it interacts with database, and also, it interacts, executes the business logic of business logic of it. Okay. So, so how it does, right? Let's say a client made a request on website. Okay. The request will first go to controller. Okay. So the controller is nothing but your filter class or, your servlet class or your, the, uh, the, s- the Spring default, controllers. Okay. So this controller will identify what kind of request it is and what I need to perform and where I need to go. So these things controller will do. And depending on that, okay, so it go to model class, to fetch some details from database or to perform some business logic. Okay. So once you get the response of model class back, okay, the controller will, check whether, this is okay. Generally, whenever we get something right from database and, from the model class, it will be a kind of a raw data that we are going to get it, right? So we cannot display that raw data directly to the client, right? So what we'll do, we actually, you know, we actually the controller, not we, but the controller, what it does, it performs some operations on that, and it is going to give that raw data to view. So that view will, add some colors and add some different type of view textures, and it is going to display that in the client screen. Okay, so the entire flow, entire flow combinedly working to display something on the client screen, right? Okay, so that's why it is giving some kind of architectural architectural pattern. Okay, sorry, it is giving some kind of s- s- solution, to resolve the problem, behind the software architecture, right? So MVC is called as architectural pattern because of that. It provides a solution, for a problem, whatever we are facing it on the web development. Okay, so it provides a better architecture, better software building architecture, to build a new application. Okay, so it will be easy, like when you divide your application into three parts, and it is also, it will help us, like make it, sorry, yeah, it will help us, whenever we are trying to develop something, new applications. Okay, so if you follow this MVC architecture, it is very easy, to complete the software development. So the initial analysis itself, if you are able to find out what I need to write in the controller, what I need to write in the model, so that will be easy, to further in future, to complete that one. And it will be loosely coupled whenever you wanted to change something or, perform some modifications on the existing project. Okay. And when it comes to the MVC, there are a lot of frameworks that built on this particular architecture. Okay, so on this architectural pattern, there are a lot of frameworks, which are built. So one of them is struts, and one of them other is, you can take Spring. Okay, these are very two popular. Yeah, these are very two popular frameworks, which built on MVC architecture. Okay. Okay. So if, please let me know, are you guys are able to understand my voice, right? But it is low. But if you feel difficulty understanding in it, I'll let them know. We can connect back on Monday about same that for whatever the topic that we are going to discuss today. I'll start discussing on that on Monday itself. Please let me know. You guys are okay with my voice? Okay. Yeah. Let me try to explain to some extent. Okay. So if it goes very, if it is not coming well, okay, I'll drop actually. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Okay. So wherever depend on MVC, okay, there are multiple frameworks which are got popular. Okay. So one of the framework is Struts, and the next one is Spring. Okay. So let us go with Spring now. Okay. What exactly a Spring framework is. Okay. So what is Spring, right? Spring is very popular framework, okay, on which is built on Java, okay, and it which enable easy way of building web applications, okay, and Spring features, and there are a lot of features from Spring that we are still developing a lot of applications on the Spring. Okay, there are a lot of features, but there are three that I have added over here. One, it is open source, and it is lightweight, and also framework of frameworks. Okay, so why I'm saying it is a framework of frameworks. Okay, so Spring uh, generally had a multiple uh, framework supports. Okay, so you can integrate with Struts, and you can integrate Spring with Hibernate, and you can integrate with some other API in the Spring. So whatever the API that it provides more flexibility to connect with other frameworks, okay, very easily. Okay, so you'll understand, like when we had a little concept when while connecting Spring with Hibernate, for the database. Okay, I'll just cover in one class. Okay, where exactly we use Hibernate, to connect a database, and how easily that Spring provided a concepts called connecting to Hibernate very easily. So that's why we say like Spring is framework of frameworks. Okay, so it provides a very good platform to connect different frameworks within your application development. Okay, so in in short, what is Spring, right? It is a framework which gives more power. Okay, full of features which helps us to build web applications in Java. Okay, okay. Why this Spring got famous in very little time? Okay, so why it got famous, right? Okay, Spring takes care of most of the lower level parts. Okay, lower level aspects. Okay, of building the application. When I say lower level, So what are all those lower level, right? You know, uh, it will, Spring says, you focus on your logic, okay? You focus on your business logic, okay? Other things, let me take care. Like what are other things, okay? So what are all other things that it is going to take care? Let us discuss, in the further classes, okay? So, for example, the other case is like, creating an object, okay? And, uh, you wanted to do, utilize this object in some classes, right? So what you do, generally when you go with Java, if you're developing that application, okay, so you create that object in the class wherever you wanted to use it. You import that class and you create an object, and then you utilize that method in that class. So all these things are the lower level task that we perform when we write a program, right? And other than this, you go ahead and write your own business logic in the same class. So what Spring says now, you worry about only the business logic. I will take care of creating those objects and linking those objects. And when you go and start executing that class, you will realize that, okay, I already have this object to execute this particular task. So I'll take care. So that is what Spring is telling, right? And I'll tell you one thing, why Spring got famous, more than Java, because Spring built on Java only. If Java would have bought this kind of concept in in later 90s, okay, so Spring would have not been in the market. But yeah, that is where actually Spring had an advantage. Java never done, Java people never done that kind of research, okay, uh, to bring very good low level programming concepts taken care by on its own. That's why the Spring framework got uh, famous in the market, because it was taking care of so many steps that we do manually in a Java web application or Java application, whatever we write, right? So let us go with some Spring features. Okay. So what are all those flexible to build apps? Okay, and open source, and also it's lightweight and comprehensive, and framework of frameworks. So these are uh, very useful features from Spring. And so when it comes to the Spring architecture, okay, so it is a very layered architecture, and it has few layers which help programmers to develop, okay, and easily maintainable applications. So Spring is having a layered architecture, and I'll show you that layered architecture. Okay, so this is our Spring architecture. Okay, okay. So web architecture. Okay, let us come by layer. Okay, so on the first, actually, you see test layer. Okay, so in the test layer, actually, Spring itself is having a very good, JUnit included in this architecture. Okay, where we can write our base layer, all the unit test classes that we can write it. Spring provides a very good framework of unit test. Okay, so you can build the test classes, in a very efficient way. Okay, and after the test layer, actually we have core container. This is where actually our the beans major layer, and in this only the main Spring related concepts will come into the picture. One is IOC, inversion of control, and the dependency injection. Okay, this is a very major layer of Spring. Okay, so let me come back. Sorry. Okay, so what is IOC and all? I'm gonna give you uh, example, and what is DI, dependency injection, when it come to the core container. We are going to discuss with this separately. Okay, one by one. Okay, and when it come to the next layer, actually we have AOP and web and data access or integration, right? Web is, AOP is kind of, which is going to introduce aspect oriented programming. So what we can say simply, right? It is our cross-cutting concerns. Okay, help us to implement cross-cutting concerns. Okay, using the aspect-oriented programming. What is this cross-cutting concerns? I'm gonna give you some example. In the next in the next slides about this aspect-oriented programming, and it contains all the instrumentation and messaging features also in the Spring architecture. Okay, in the layered architecture. So the next one is web. Web is like it gives you inbuilt framework of WebSocket, Servlet, and web portlets. Okay, so what do we do with these things, right? We can utilize this framework, web framework, and you guys can develop the WebSocket, connecting to different applications, and developing the web related concepts. You can still use Spring UI concept. Okay, uh, there are certain framework features that you can develop this application using web layer. Okay, and when it comes to the data access integration layer, we have number of features to connect the database. It has JDBC, ORM, and JMS is for some messagings and transaction mechanisms. Okay, so transaction uh, Spring it Spring itself, it is having a transaction oriented concepts, like it can connect with a database, and also it is it can perform those transactional related uh, you know uh, actions when we connect to the database. Okay, so what exactly this does, right? Each and every things were divided into Spring modules. Okay, so customer, or sorry, whenever a client is trying to build an application, or whenever a developer is trying to build an application, okay, at that time you can choose these modules which are very familiar, like which are useful to you, and you can easily choose that module, and you can start developing your application. So let us come to the Spring modules, what exactly the Spring modules are. Okay, okay, so as I already told, it contains lot of features. Okay, and which are well organized in about 20 modules. Okay, these modules can be grouped together based on their primary feature into the following. So first one is core container, data access container, sorry, data access or integration, web aspect oriented programming, and instrumentation and test, right? In the core container, okay, we are going to discuss about the base of framework. Okay, and IOC and dependency injection, and the configuration of application. So this in the core container, we are going to uh, you know we are going to perform these kind of actions, okay? IOC and dependency injection. So when we are going to discuss each and every core module, okay? What is the dependency injection is, and what is IOC, okay? And when it comes to the data access or integration, so data access or integration is going to help us. This model is going to help us, to connect with the database, and which it internally already have a JDBC ORM. You already saw that, right? So this is our one more module which is helping us to connect the database, okay? And web layer. So web layer is already having web MVC, and I told that web portlets, okay? So web portlets, what is web portlets, right? Web portlets are helping us to build the desktop application using Spring, okay? Desktop application using Spring. Okay, that means kind of a standalone application. And web sockets are helping us to build two-way communication between apps. Okay, so those things we were able to achieve through web. Okay, and aspect-oriented programming. Okay, I'm going to tell that about this aspect-oriented programming in the next class. Okay, next class means in the next slide. I'm sorry. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, this is the main Spring flow. Okay, what is an IOC? Okay, let us discuss in deep. Okay, IOC is inversion of control. That means it is a container related feature. What it is going to do, it is going to help us creating an object and wiring them together, okay, with a dependency, and configuring them, okay, to utilize within the application, and it is going to properly manage the complete life cycle of that object. Okay, so what exactly this IOC says, right? Okay, developer, you create a Pojo class. Okay, Pojo means plain old Java object. Okay, so you create a Pojo class and write your logic in it. Okay, and give me a metadata to me. Okay, in form of either annotations or XML configuration file. Give it to the Spring container. Then I will make sure this Pojo class, you know, to ready to use. Okay, to ready to use for your application. Okay, so this is what it does, right? It can be internally. Actually, this IOC container is having a bean factory and an application context. Okay, so what these two things does, okay, these two things helping us to perform all these steps on its own. Okay, so developer is only responsible to create a Pojo file and write the business logic and give a very little information about the Pojo class, to Spring container, saying that this is my Pojo class and this is its dependencies. So I need your help, to configuring them. Okay. So you can do that in two ways. One is annotations and one is, using the XML configuration file, which was the initially when Spring was introduced. Actually, we need to we need to give the XML config file, to make sure we have, that metadata of each and every Beam classes. So we usually write in the XML configurations. Nowadays, we can do the same operation, same kind of thing, similar kind of thing, using our annotations. Okay, so we are going to see one example, best example. Okay, in coming classes. Okay, so you will be able to understand how Spring is managing all these things. When it comes to the class. Okay, when it come to one piece of code. Before that, how Spring is managing to create all these dependencies and everything. Okay, so let us go to the next one. I think you guys are clear. IOC, what IOC tells, it is pretty much straightforward. You you just worry about your business logic, give everything to me as an annotation or XML configuration. I'll take care of creating those objects. I'll take care of the dependencies. Everything I'm gonna take care. That's what IOC is telling to us. Okay, so let's go to the next concept, dependency injection. What is this dependency injection? And Spring is very famous for these kind of concepts, right? So dependency injection is nothing but it is going to inject, you know, your object, okay, without your intervention to utilize that object in the class wherever you're writing some logic. Okay, let's say, if you, okay, let's say, you have some property files. Okay, you are going to use these property files in your project. Okay, and when you come to a Pojo class or when you come to a plain Java class and you are looking for those properties, okay, what you will do generally? Okay, you go ahead and create a class and you're going to import that class into your uh, Java class, and you're going to create an object of it and then call some methods, to load those properties. And once it is loading the property, you are going to retrieve those each and every property from it, and you're going to write the code whatever you need. So the steps of writing this code, right? You are utilizing some different class object in this particular class. So Spring provides a very good uh, concept called dependency injection. So what it does, you got, before writing this Pojo or before writing this Java class, you need to identify your dependencies on this class. Tell that, tell that to Spring, these are my dependencies. Okay, when I come to this class, I need these objects to be injected, you know, to my, to run this class. Okay, so what you're gonna do, you are going to tell that to Spring, okay, combine, auto wire, this object to with my class so that you can utilize that object directly in your class. Okay, so in previously you used to create that object and you need to call, right? But in the Spring, okay, there are two ways that you can create the dependency injection. One is by constructor, okay, and by one is by setter method. Okay, when it comes to the dependency, right? So it removes most of the dependency from the programming code, and it is going to be like more configurable thing, and which can be easily modified. So you are making the dependencies very loosely coupled. Okay, so you are writing all the dependencies in one configuration file, and you're writing your own logic or your own business logic in the Java class, right? So it makes very loosely coupled, and whenever you wanted to change something, right, the object whatever you are injecting, you can easily go ahead and change it in the XML file or the annotations that you use it now. So you can go ahead and change in the plain Java class also. Okay. So we have types of DI constructor and setter methods. Okay, what is this, right? You know, using setter method, you can use that dependency injection. Okay, like that means, using a setter method, you are going to inject the object into that class, and the other one is by constructor. So the constructor argument sub element of B is used as constructor injection. Okay, you are going to pass that bean, okay, to the constructor, for the dependency injection, right? So hope you guys understand this, okay? And when you see an example, okay, you will definitely have a clear idea what is construction or dependency injection by constructor and what is setter method injection, right? Okay, let me go to the next one, okay, which is AOP. So this is very very interesting concept of Spring aspect oriented programming. Okay, I'm going to cover one small example. When we come to the AOP, we always talk about cross cutting concern, right? So this is a very good concept. Okay, uh, it is very helpful for most of the e-commerce websites. Okay, or anything that provides some uh, okay, anything that sells something to customer. So this aspect oriented programming concept, cross cutting concern, is helping so many e-commerce websites. So how it is helping, right? I'll give you one small example. Okay, when you open a website, Amazon or any Flipkart or any other website shopping sites like Best Buy or you know uh, Best Buy or some other shopping websites. So what you do, you are going to search for one of the product that it is required for you, right? So whenever you log into these websites, what they does, right? They're going to capture, okay, your start time, okay, and what are all the searches that you are doing in between that start time, and they are going to capture your end time you log out from that session or you close that browser, right? So start to end, it is going to capture your history, search history, and let's say you search it for an iPhone, or let's say you search it for a different Android phones. Okay, okay. So what it does, right? It is going to store your search and your like you are like why you search it, right? You do for some research, or you wanted to buy some phone or something else, correct? You might search for it. Okay, so based on that your search, okay, what Amazon does, or what Best Buy does, they are going to store your search history. And let's say you closed your browser and you went away and you came back after some time and you opened your browser, you click, Google, or, you went for some other websites, and then you start seeing some ads, okay, some recommendations saying that, okay, whatever the search that you have done in Amazon, whatever the search that you've done in Best Buy, like for an iPhone or like for an Android phone, you start seeing those ads in different websites, okay, as a pop-ups. Okay. Oh, this is, your best offer for buying iPhone, or these are the different models. I know for Android phone that you looked. These are the similar models, that you looked. Okay. So it is going to give you a lot of offering, right? With those ads. Okay. So where did it come from, right? What Amazon does, what Best Buy does, right? It is going to capture your search history, and it is going to log those things in their database, or somewhere where exactly it stores data. And using this cross-cutting console, it implements this aspect oriented programming. And okay, and it will tell, it will display these kind of ads in different websites, and it is going to recommend that to buy your product, from their website. So aspect oriented programming is a very good concept, okay, to learn and how we do these techniques. Okay. This cross cutting concepts. Okay. uh, so the last concept of it is MVC. Okay. Okay, there are simple things that I provided over here, aspect-oriented programming. So it provides a modularity with the aspect rather than the class. Okay, that's what I told you, right? So, you searched and you went away, but you're still seeing those, recommendation, ads and everything in the in different websites, not in the Amazon or not in the Best Buy, right? So AOP breaks the programming logic in distinct parts called concerns. Okay. So what is your concern? You are just searching for something else, and that is a product that it is going to capture it. Okay. And you got the point, right? Just a minute. Okay. It increases the modularity, by cross-cutting concerns. Okay. So this is, the concepts of aspected oriented programming. And when it comes to the MVC, Spring itself has its own Spring MVC concepts. Okay, so it provided a very good model view controller architecture in it. Okay, so we will discuss more on the Spring MVC. Okay, when it come to the web application designing. Okay, what kind of package it is having. Okay, I can say it is a complete one set of package which help us write to minimal of code and business logic, and everything else can be taken care by Spring MVC. Okay, so that's why I mentioned earlier when we discussed about model view controller pattern, architectural pattern. Spring is one of the famous implementation of that MVC. Okay, so how it implemented and all, we'll verify, we'll check in the next class. Okay, and we'll come with an example for Spring MVC. Okay. So I'm stopping the class here itself. Okay. We'll continue tomorrow on Monday. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, if you guys are not able to understand my voice, I'm really sorry. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Yeah, thanks all. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I can answer them. Or if you wanted to cover some of the topic in deep, let me know. I'll cover it in the next session. Okay, thank you.